Hey Eagles fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into the Eagles Report, and today we are going to react to the Philadelphia Eagles not making any significant news, any significant headlines at the NFL trade deadline, which, if you're watching this right now, was literally just a couple of hours ago. But we do have some information about moves they attempted to make at the trade deadline, as well as the end of this video. Apparently, All or Nothing, an Amazon web series, is going to be covering the Eagles this year. We'll have details on that here in just a second. Before we start, though, thank you for getting us to 500 subscribers here, literally in a week. We're up to 500 subscribers, growing very, very quickly here at the Eagles Report. If you have not subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it. Can we get to 600 by the end of next week? Just click the red button. It costs nothing. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, let's jump right into the news here. As, of course, the Eagles made no significant moves at the deadline. Really, no team made any significant news unless you count Aqib Talib being shipped away to Miami, basically to clear cap space for Jalen Ramsey. But there is some news on what exactly went down inside the Eagles front office as they attempted to make moves at the deadline. We'll start with Chris Harris, the Denver corner. Now, I had said many times during the past week that Chris Harris was my most likely to be traded to the Philadelphia Eagles candidate, and this was true, except for the fact that we're finding out that the Eagles did not even offer anything for Chris Harris. Now, they did make a phone call. The sources have confirmed, and reports have confirmed that they did make a phone call to Denver. Denver wanted a third-round draft pick for Chris Harris. The Eagles decided not to even offer anything. They thought a third-round pick was too high. Now, the question is, did they make the right move? Here's what they probably were thinking in their own mind. Darby's back healthy, and Jalen Mills is back healthy as well, so they're better at corner than where they were at early on in this season. Plus, Chris Harris Jr.'s deal is expiring, meaning he'd be a free agent at the end of this year, and the Eagles would have to decide if they want to give him a long-term deal. My big problem with this is a third-round draft pick is not that expensive. Now, third-round draft picks it's a nice commodity to have, and you want to have a third-round draft pick every single year in the NFL draft, but Chris Harris would have been a great addition to the Eagles secondary, and for a third, it would not have been that big of a deal and not that much to go ahead and make the move. But we should have seen this coming because the Eagles had a chance to trade for Texans defensive end Jadeveon Clowney earlier on this year, as it cost a third-round draft pick to get him. Seattle ended up doing it, and the Eagles didn't want to spend a third either. So if they didn't want to spend a third on a star pass rusher in Clowney, then I guess it makes sense they did not want to spend a third-round pick on Chris Harris Jr. But I wanted to report there for you guys all following the channel that they did make the phone call. They just did not make an offer. Chris Harris stays in Denver. He will be a free agent in the offseason. Maybe you sign him then. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should the Eagles have traded for Chris Harris Jr.? Yes? No? Let me know in the comments section down below. Okay, the other big name that I think basically everybody thought the Eagles were going to make a trade for was the wide receiver from New York, the Jet, Robby Anderson, the deep threat who's been a favorite of Sam Darnold during his time, I guess his short time, in New York. Well, here's the report. The Eagles did make a call to the New York Jets. The Jets reportedly, I think ESPN's Adam Schefter had this, wanted a second-round draft pick, and as soon as the Eagles heard that they wanted a second, they were immediately out of that trade. So what are we learning right now? We learned, of course, the Eagles didn't make any moves and that the Eagles really weren't that aggressive at all. And I remember, we reported this here because, sources had, or not sources, I should say, it was reported by multiple of the big outlets that the Eagles would be very involved in the trade deadline. They would try to be very, very active at the trade deadline. Yet, nationally, ESPN, guys at NBC, looks like they were wrong on this one, as Philadelphia, according to the most recent reports, had chances to make moves for third-round picks, for second-round picks, for fourth-round picks, and they decided to not even make offers. So we mentioned Chris Harris, but for Robbie Anderson, they wanted a second-round draft pick, and the Eagles obviously did not want to do that and are going to be going without a new wide receiver on this team for the remainder of the year. Now, what probably went into the Eagles not giving up a second for Robbie Anderson is the fact that Deshaun Jackson is expected to play on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. Now, we talked about this yesterday. He's probably going to be playing hurt, but I think if you want some good news out of not making moves, I think if the Eagles were worried that Deshaun Jackson's injury was going to nag on for the rest of the year, they would have addressed the wide receiver position. Not addressing it tells me that they're very confident that Deshaun Jackson should be okay going forward. But again, I'll ask you guys this. Should the Eagles have traded for Anderson? I mean, this is one I really thought they were going to, but a second-round draft pick for a wide receiver who's good but not great is a tall price to pay. I'm not going to say I'm glad they didn't make the move, but I understand why they decided to stay put on this one as well. The only problem I have is I really wish Nelson Aguilar, Mac Hollins, and Arthega Whiteside would play better than what they have done this year, but it's a whole new half of the season. We'll see what happens going forward. And finally here, just a bit of news that came out today in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles. They are going to be on the Amazon web series All or Nothing. If you don't know what this is, it's basically the younger brother of Hard Knocks. This past year, they followed the Carolina Panthers, where if you watched it, and I watched part of the Panthers one because football's fun, right? They basically follow the Philadelphia Eagles behind-the-scenes look during the entire season. So next summer, when this one comes out, probably right before the season starts, we'll be able to look back and see the insider information on this year's Eagles, the 2019 Eagles, the ones that are happening right now. So I would bet a lot of money that there will be an episode all about the trade deadline, and we'll learn even more about what phone calls the Eagles made and what moves they wanted to do. But the All or Nothing series is fantastic. Again, Carolina was the team of focus last year. This coming year is going to be us. It's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles did not want to do this, of course. So there was a source inside Philadelphia who came out and said the NFL basically draws straws, and the shortest stick has to do the web series, or I guess the Amazon Prime series, I should say. Eagles got the short end of the stick, and so they are forced by the National Football League to do it. So a lot of teams don't like, all this curtain coming back from inside the organization, but as fans, this is awesome for us, so I'm all for the All or Nothing series featuring the Philadelphia Eagles, which again will be on Amazon Prime most likely next spring or probably midsummer in 2020. There we go. All the time we have for today on a very quick edition of the Eagles Report here as we try to update you guys on the trade deadline. I was hoping to have big trade news here, but of course the only move the Eagles did make was for the defensive end Avery from the Browns a couple, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I can't remember, which we reported on. So we'll see what happens. The Eagles team is what we're going to have going forward. We're going to get healthier, and hopefully we can start a nice snowball effect of win after win after win on Sunday in Chicago. Now, we're going to have plenty more coverage on the Philadelphia Eagles. News, rumors, updates, previews, reactions, all on this channel. If you have not subscribed to the Eagles Report yet, you're an Eagles fan, I would highly encourage you to do it, and I would greatly appreciate it as well. I'd like to see 600 subs by this time next week. I think we can do it. Again, if you like the video, leave a thumbs up as well. All the time we have for today. This has been the Eagles Report. I'm Thomas Mott. Enjoy the rest of your day.